All right. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Welcome to Bezerra Spiritual Healing Center. We are a non-denominational organization, but we are also part of the United States Spiritist Federation. So all religions, all beliefs are welcomed here. So one of the things that we always like to encourage you is if you have any doubts, any questions, any conflicts about anything, this is a safe environment for you to share, for you to ask. We are here all to learn together. And before I go to the announcements of the week, I would like to ask our sister Gina to do our opening prayer.
Okay, let us close our eyes as we open our heart and lift up our inner eyes and our vibration to our Heavenly Father. Saying hello, good morning, Father. Thank you for this blessed opportunity to be here. Thank you for awakening us this morning. Thank you, Father, for the blessing of the wonderful sun that is shining on us all, providing nourishment. Dear Father, we ask that you open our hearts and our minds to receive the message of today, and may it enlighten us in our growth. With your divine grace, we ask that you bless the opening of our service. In your name, so be it.
And so it is. Thank you, sister. All right, so once more, welcome to Bezerra Spiritual Healing Center. You will see that this service is split into two parts. The first one, we will have someone speaking to us, and in just a moment, I will introduce our speaker. And then the second part, we have a hands-on healing. And the reason why we have these two parts is one of the things that we heard from Emmanuel, the spirit mentor of Chico Xavier, and many others, is that the spiritual awakening has two wings, the wing of knowledge and the wing of love, charity. So that's the reason why we have these two parts. It is really important that you really pay attention to the speech. So we highly encourage you to have a piece of paper or something for you to write down your notes, since your mentor will already be working with you for you to download the important messages for you to be working and reflecting along the week. And then if you have any questions, we are here for you to bring them. At the screen right now, you can see the agenda that we have for the week. So we have plenty of opportunities for us to be together. You are invited to join us every single day. And all of this you can find at bshcenter.org. And just for the sake of time, I'm going to highlight just a couple of important things. So the first one is we have on Monday an internal service that we call Healing Services, and it's run by the mediumship group. So if you are in need of receiving emotional healing, spiritual healing, physical healing, do let us know, because every Monday from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Pacific time, all the mediums get together and we do a vibration and we work with the high spirituality vibrating for those who are in need. We also encourage you or your beloved one to be open for the service. So if you can read the gospel, do a prayer during this time, it's going to be really helpful for your own treatment. So feel free to send us your name and we'll be happy to add. One important thing is that the treatment goes for at least 4 weeks. So whoever you send us the name will be in treatment for the whole month. We also have daily prayers. So from Monday to Saturday, 6 p.m. Pacific time, we all get together for 15 minutes, 20 minutes for us to vibrate positive energies, not only for those who are in need, but for the entire planet Earth. Everybody is welcome to join. Is in this very same link, so everybody can be with us. We know that it is in giving that we receive, so please feel free to join us. And then we have 2 new study groups. One is on Tuesday, and we started reading Forgiveness as the Way and the Way to Forgiveness. Just started at the beginning of November, so you still can catch up. And then this one is run at Divine Light in collaboration with Bezerra Spiritual Healing Center. Again, at bshcenter.org, you should be able to quickly find the link. And then on Thursday, we just started the book Living Spring. Also by this one is by Chico Xavier. It's an amazing book from 6:30 to 7:30. We just started at the beginning of November as well, so everybody's welcome to join us. It's going to be easy for you to catch up. The other thing is we do have fraternal assistance. So we know that sometimes life gets hard. So if you want to vent, if you need someone to speak, if you need to ask any question, there will be a medium available to be talking to you. So please let us know, and we'll be happy to arrange a meeting between you and the person. And then again, if you have any question, Rebecca, you have a question? We can't hear you. Let me see if I can. We can't hear you, and I don't know if you have your audio. So if you want to ask any question, we are here anytime. If you prefer, you can type the question at the chat, and we'll be answering that. Thank you, sister. So as I mentioned to you, we always have all the link and updated agenda at bshcenter.org. So today we will hear from our brother, Mark Carlos. Mark will talk to us about patience, a most difficult virtue to attain. Very much indeed, brother. Thank you for bringing this topic. For those who don't know Mark, he is American born and bred, having lived his entire life in California, save 1 year he lived in Hawaii. Raised Catholic, Mark left the church at 16 and was dormant spiritually for almost 30 years. When he became a father, he discovered a power greater than himself, and life has not been the same since. Mark found Spiritism in 2018 and has learned enough to realize he's exactly where he is meant to be. A lifetime musician and technologist, Mark is now retired, focused on his spiritual development, and is still learning how to fly with both wings, knowledge and charity. So everybody, please help me to welcome our dear brother, Mark.
Thank you. And thank everyone for the opportunity to do this. As is often the case, this topic was not pre-chosen. This topic was communicated as a point in time to share my perspectives. And my perspectives are a blend of a variety of different things, but as we'll get into this, you'll see I'm a sponge when it comes to other people's opinions. But I do want to just begin with talking about the fact that it is a challenge. It is indeed a challenge to have patience. And if you can get a sense of patience, then you can realize a power that is within you. Not necessarily a power you will exhibit, but a power of capability. And in the center of this first slide is the symbol of infinity. And if you've ever seen my presentation on time before, again, I have an interesting perspective on time and on infinity. So today we're going to look at science, we're going to look at spiritism, we're going to look at Ben Franklin, who is probably responsible in this country for putting the concept of patience as a virtue into the minds of Americans. It was part of everything he wrote about and said. And then you'll see some elements of my own personal life and testimony. So first of all, let's begin with the definition of what is patience. So it is a noun, and the Oxford Dictionary says the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, trouble, or suffering without getting angry. And a perfect example of this is you can always find bargains if you have the patience to sift through an inventory. But let's go back to this definition. Accept or tolerate, delay. There's that time factor, that word delay. We'll talk about this. To accept or tolerate trouble, and to accept or tolerate suffering. Accept, tolerate. Suffering, not typically a human reaction. The dictionary goes even further to indicate some similar terms that people use with the word patience to indicate a probability for what we might say are positive character traits. So we look at these words in this list and we realize so many of them are in Spiritist principles. Kindness, understanding, tolerance, restraint, tranquility, serenity, and so on. And then there are some other terms that are actually similar terms to the word patience. Well, before I get to those, here are some more of these positive terms. Diligence, persistence, staying power, determination, resolve, purposefulness. Those are all elements associated with patience. Now, we'll go into a lot of this deeper. But again, I was going to say there are some possible negative character traits, and still we talk about similar terms. So we think about stoicism, obstinacy, insistence, singleness of purpose, tenacity. It's interesting to look at these words and realize how our lives have been affected by the presence or lack of presence. We probably all agree we don't have as much patience as we should. So I think about professionals and I think about, aren't farmers a perfect example of a profession that exercises patience? You can't rush growth of a plant or a tree or fruit or yield. But you do have to show all these character traits to be a successful farmer. So here's another definition from the internet. And this is something I have often pondered. It's my reflection upon my ability or another loved one's ability to wait for something, to show patience. And if we consider patience to be a virtue, it is a state of moral excellence. And if you wanted to set a goal for yourself, you don't want agitation. You want minimal or even no anxieties, as much as possible, because that's showing patience. And certainly for Spiritists and for Christians in general, if we understand the nature of Jesus's character, did he ever not have patience? Well, yes, that's an interpretation, perhaps. There's a couple different passages in the Bible where he definitely had a single-minded purpose, didn't he? But in general, moral excellence. And again, here we look at ourselves as humans, because the truth throughout history is that it goes against our instincts. If we're struggling, we get frustrated. If we're hungry for whatever we think we need, we definitely have some challenges when it comes to patience. But the good news is there's enough information now and enough consciousness that we can learn it. And if we exercise it with more frequency, we are less likely to become agitated, anxious. This should lead for a happier life. And certainly why those that have recognized this have written so much about this over time. And why this is a very critical part of spiritist literature that is starting to now come to the masses. Excuse me, I'm exercising patience with this lingering nasal drip. But why patience? Well, let's look at a psychologist's perspective. If you've seen the presentation done previously by Sunshine or others, so David Hawkins created this definition. And if you look at the cone on the right side and the different measurable frequencies, you see that from the lowering end, there is suffering and survival mode. And as you get better, move away from fear towards love, you start moving towards ultimate consciousness. Now, if you look at this list, kind of study each of these categories. And ask yourself, where do you think patience kicks in? Or where was patience missing? Some of these are harder to define than others. But in your own lives, in your own experiences, or in your loved ones' experiences, you kind of have an analytical perspective now that begins to tell you the importance of patience. It certainly illuminates a lot of consciousness on my part. And the more I read, the more this makes sense. So what occurs when you exercise patience? Or what doesn't occur? So let's talk about what psychologists think, because they think every human wants a perspective of this phrase called inner peace. And to achieve inner peace, what does that mean to you? Is that a moment, a duration of time, a consistent emotional state, an inconsistent emotional state? What does it mean to you? Because psychologists would also say that patience is absolutely present for those that have an inner peace. And it's because those that have an inner peace make an intentional effort to have patience, and to practice it, and to ever try to achieve it as an ever-present state of mind, not overreacting, not impulsively reacting, and instead, a deep breath, a drink of water, Kiki, to prevent a verbal response or whatever. Now, what does science know? Well, we know there's a variety of chemicals being released by the brain all the time. And sometimes we make an effort to try to achieve a temporary joy, and those chemicals are flying around us, emanating from our brain, doing various things. And so here's an example. A thrilling roller coaster ride, for whatever reason, includes that first drop, that tipsy-turvy, upside-down feeling. You're not in control, an element of fear, if you will. Now, if you are in the process of being treated for some type of medical malady and you have chemicals in your system that are supposed to be doing their job, even if it's acetaminophen or ibuprofen. What happens? If you're taking physical therapy, what happens on that roller coaster ride? And by the way, that phrase roller coaster ride does not mean the physical sensation of a roller coaster ride only. It could be the roller coaster ride of life, professional stress, emotional family stress, medical stress. It could be a variety of different emotional roller coasters, inclusive of fear. What kind of treatment are you undergoing? Better to be patient and avoid those thrill rides. Now, here's an interesting perspective. When being treated for a physical malady, a lack of patience can result in a form of addiction. The chemicals being released in your brain become accustomed to your body. Your body is reacting to an improper mixture of chemicals, and it becomes addictive in nature. And this is happening in American society in a greater volume than anybody wants to admit right now. But let's just talk about a friend of mine who has been diagnosed in June, 6 months later now, with pancreatic cancer, a tumor. Now, her emotional state upon diagnosis, as you would expect, she's got a death sentence. She immediately goes to the internet and starts reading about people who get pancreatic tumors and go through the process of cancer treatments medically. She's not a spiritual person. I'm trying to bring that to her. But her immediate scientific perspective on life falls right off the table. She's a basket case. And her, I'll be honest with you, the situation was such that I was present for many of the doctors' meetings. Her mental state was never in the doctors' minds. Her emotional state was never in the doctors' minds. They're putting her through chemo or whatever their treatment plans are, completely ignoring her mental state. They focus purely on her physical state, blood tests and reaction and shrinking of the tumor and yada, yada, yada. I knew instantly her chances of recovery are diminished. Her quality of life is going to be diminished because of her inability to accept her own humanity. And so in 6 months, we've had many a discussion about dying. And I thank God for putting me at this point in time with this spiritual family guiding me through no intentional efforts of your own, as well as the spirits that surround me on a daily basis, for how to have these conversations with her and learn in the process of my own impatience, and learn in the process of the reality of the law of cause and effect. I didn't get into her and how this life has caused her to now experience what she's experiencing, but I certainly have looked within myself in that respect. How can she possibly be effective in today's medical science cancer treatments? It's not going to be as effective as it needs to be. And that's okay, because that's how it's meant to be. And so what we know from science, some of these brain activities are directly related to specific mental, emotional, and spiritual conditions. I'm not going to single anyone out, but right now we have in our midst our sister Kiki, who's going through massive physical changes within her body. This is a woman who is steeped in not only spiritism, but patience. You are a wonderful model of how to go through this process. Let's go further and let's get deeper into spiritism. And let's just start with some reference points. Joanna de Angelis writes in Happy Life, number 4, Patience is a virtue that will assist you in acquiring physical, spiritual, and social assets. Holy man teaches us how to wait when we can't have what we want right now. And so she instructs us to not become impatient, to understand everything happens at a time when it was meant to happen for a reason. I went into the life of Spiritism when I did because I was ready. Anything before that would not have worked. Absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I know that. And everything that has happened since has happened for a reason. Now, has an increase in patience helped me overcome everything? No, because I started so late in life. But boy, I share with you all, there's no time like now to start exercising patience as a consistent and conscious, intentional effort. Chapter 9 of the Gospel, in the Blessed are the meek. Be patient, because this is also a charitable quality. Everyone should practice the law of charity as taught by Christ. He's God's envoy. Charity given to the poor in the form of alms or whatever monetary asset is the easiest of all. However, there is another kind, which is far more laborious and so offers higher merit. Forgive anyone and everyone placed in your pathway by God. Because if you believe they are causing you suffering, they are testing your patience, pure and simple. In the prayers section, number 52 in chapter 3, give us strength to support with patience and resignation any mockery, insults, slander, and persecutions, any way it comes to us, challenging who we are as humans, as males, females, as whatever, however they come to us. They are a test of our faith and our humility. My father used to say to me, Mark, you need to be more thick-skinned. Well, that means more of a tolerance, more patience, and certainly learn to eliminate the idea of reprises. It is not my responsibility to correct you or anyone else. On your lack of patience, it is only my responsibility to correct my own lack of patience. And if you are praying for others, in the remarks section of chapter 28, think about obsessions. The cure of grave obsessions requires much patience, perseverance, and devotion. It also demands tact and the ability in order to direct those who are frequently doing the wrong thing, not doing the good. We must have patience. And we must be guided by the circumstances. And by the way, the paragraph that follows is really deep. I must have read that 3 times about the circumstances and the presence of spirits and how to pray for those who are obsessed. Spiritism goes further. In chapter 27, ask and it shall be given. So this is how to pray. What God will concede if we direct ourselves to him with confidence is courage, patience, and resignation. We have the courage to come to God and request patience where we haven't had it, and resignation that we have not been as good as we should be. And that humility is so new for me, as you will hear. But God does help those who help themselves. And what I do know is that for whatever reasons in prior lives, that got me to this life, that I have been blessed by a protector spirit who has amazing patience, continually giving me opportunities to figure life out. And in this chapter of the instructions of how to pray, your prayer should always include a request for God's blessings on all those things you really need, not for what we want. Ask for items like patience, resignation, faith, discipline, increased consciousness, increased awareness. Listen twice as much because we have 2 ears as talking, which is why we have 1 mouth. In the Medium's book, in the chapter 17, the second part, Spirit Manifestations, we get this set of perspectives. We see in mediums very meritorious efforts in a moral point of view. Sometimes those mediums, no need of rest. They're annoyed by interruptions. We don't understand their motives. Excuse me. We don't understand the moment that those mediums are in communication with a spirit or a group of spirits. And sometimes those mediums are being put to a test, to put their patience to the proof, and to judge their perseverance. And so spirits don't end this practice. They want to see if the medium will ever become disheartened. I have such a better understanding of the challenges that I have witnessed, in particular last Monday. I have also intense appreciation now, much greater appreciation for those who have authored the books from the spirits, and the diligence and the consistency that they exhibited in order to psychograph these messages. Holy mackerel. Constantly being challenged to see if they become disheartened. Okay, let's get a little American, if we will, or at least international. The Freemasons, which is an interesting pit to fall into if you ever want to waste a day. But Ben Franklin was a Freemason, and on the Freemason site is attributed Ben Franklin's statement, "He that can have patience can have what he will." Patience was one of his 13 virtues that he wrote extensively about. Job's Daughter is an organization based on a variety of different religious and other perspectives, principles, but they have been taught from the very beginning that patience is a virtue for which we must strive. However, not everyone has patience. Now let's take an inhuman perspective on this. A spoiled dog could be a spoiled person, doesn't have any patience. He lives for the moment. He's got a favorite toy that makes noise and he loves it, but he will make sure no one else can have it. And if somebody else has it and it's not in his sight or possession, he becomes anxious. The dog starts crying until it comes back, and then he's happy again. What's going on in that dog's brain? Chemicals, addictions. Again, this could be a human. What's the toy? Materialism? We live in a microwave society. We are accustomed to having things instantly. The internet has brought us instant gratification. And we have an expectation of perfection. And if we don't get it instantly, and if we don't get it to our perfection, whatever that state is, we aren't shy about letting anyone know about it, are we? It might be in the moment that we scream at our computer. It might be we fire off a nasty gram somewhere, post a social media comment, whatever the case may be. So we ask ourselves, is there an area in our lives where impatience shows? Are there things we have a difficult time waiting for, including affection? Perhaps it's time we learn a little bit about more patience, how to grow it, and that inner peace that we can achieve if we learn it. So I previously did a presentation. Are you hearing the clock? Maybe not.
Yes, we are.
Oh, good. Thank you. So try to comprehend the concept of time. The planet has been around 4.5 billion years. What does billion mean? We have no concept. Not in this lifetime. The first human appeared somewhere about 2 billion years ago, give or take 500 million years. So the Earth was around for a long time before humans, at least as we begin to identify what we think are humans. Moses comes along. Now, I always wanted to come back and do this timeline again and start showing some of the Asian and Middle Eastern cultures. And when their gods began to appear to them, when spirituality began to be part of a cultural reality as humans inhabited the earth. But I'll just stick with this. Moses, look how many billions of years of humanity before we have the power of the 10 Commandments. And then Jesus. And only 2,000 years since then. Are we being impatient thinking the earth is going to transform overnight? Maybe. Or are we being products of patience? In fact, being called to exercise this awareness of patience, because the earth has been patient. Humanity has been patient to get to this most recent 2,000 years, or our own lifetimes. Interesting perspective on patience. So what we can say is that time is an amazing governance for every cycle. And when I say cycle, I kind of define it myself this way. At some point in the past, the life I had ended. That body ended. And that spirit ceased to exist in a body on this planet. And a period of time went by. And then in 1952, my mission, my parents' mission, my spiritual reality reappeared in a new body. And I am a product of that cycle. And of course, there are cycles before that for each of us. They are all completely unique. None of us are the same, just like our fingerprints. The duration of time for those cycles is not the same. How much time weren't we in a body? At whatever point in time, how much time were we in a body? Each cycle is a period of spiritual development and regeneration. And that includes some factor, measurable quality of patience. This helps to explain why the durations of some cycles are short-lived and others are not. Those who are impatient, typically shorter life cycles. This also explains why the intersecting of life cycles, and I would say in my case, all of my spiritual brothers and sisters I've met since Spiritism founded, all of them. There are permanent impacts in those spiritual energies that have now been exchanged. My DNA is forever different because of each of you. My perispirit will forever be different because of each of you. And the patience and understanding that continues to grow. And even with that awareness and that consciousness and that knowledge, I just had a power hit. Are we all still here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can all hear you. Yeah, all good.
That was weird.
Sorry.
even with all this power, thank you, spirits. Even with all this knowledge, it is certainly frustrating in those moments to not have patience when I need it the most. To allow myself to forgive and forget when I don't have patience. That becomes the challenge. Why? Because after all, I'm living here with my free will and my ego and my pride and my expectations of instantaneous perfection. I mean, the fact that I can read the same passage in the gospel 20 times in a year and get 20 different interpretations of it is completely lost when I say I understand that particular message. Completely lost. It's a fundamental set of challenges to exercise patience with myself. Okay, so let me get to this last slide because I think this is the fun part and I'm getting close to time. So I reflect in a variety of different ways on my very impatient life led to date. And I kind of categorize a lot of them in this manner. And most of you already know this. I'm a white male American who took advantage of those privileges, but not at the expense of others who were not as fortunate. I was raised with the golden rule, fundamental principles, and I've been blessed to have so many opportunities to take steps towards successful childhood, adolescence, adulthood, and subsequent parenthood, and now subsequent senior years. I've been blessed. I'm so full of gratitude for this incredible set of privileges that continue to open for me. If I go back in time, it began with me getting into college in the most incredible way with a scholarship. And my parents paid for 4 years of my college and I walked away with no loans. How many kids can say that these days? I was taught a work ethic in my youth based on the law of cause and effect. I didn't know it then. I absolutely didn't know it then, but I lived a life of it. And you get what you earn. If you're not going to put the work in, you ain't going to make much. That was a very materialistic perspective, of course. Technology, as it evolved, was my lifeblood. I was in the right place at the right time. I came out of college as computers began. And I grew up in Silicon Valley profession in the 80s and 90s. I've forgotten more technology than most of you will ever even read about. It's stunning for me to say that, and I don't mean that in an egotistical manner. That's the right place at the right time. Pure and simple. I spent it as fast as I made it. I enjoyed an incredibly materialistic and self-indulgent life. Not at the expense of others. That's the only good thing I can say about that. But certainly when it comes to this concept of inner peace, I had no concept. I was constantly moving at 100 miles an hour, wherever it took me. In the rarest of moments, completely undervalued whatever that meant. No spiritual practice, no growth, no introspection, just roll it one day to the next. But I did, for whatever reason, create my own 10% rule. 10% of whatever I made, I tried to put back into humanity in whatever fashion. I've been supporting the arts at my own high school and throughout the greater Sacramento area for 50 years. And other charitable groups as well. Got directly involved in many of them, was even on board of directors before. And then I became a dad. And all of a sudden, the family values that I was raised with became the most important adult goal. I wanted my sons to understand by the time they turn 18, the difference between right and wrong. What they do with it after that is up to them. Now, letting go of that and not trying to direct their lives, that has been a very impatient reality. Not getting frustrated, my impatience. Not being able to keep my mouth closed when it's none of my business, lack of patience, ego on parade, etc., etc. So this is my awareness now. Patience is the Lord's call for our character to not merely engage in passive endurance, but in active perseverance. And I'm already seeing the benefits in the last 2 days. Benefits to me. Everybody else wonders what's wrong. So as I look at today and the future, of course, good things take time. Look how long the planets have been here. Look how long humanity's been here. Look how little time we've had communications from the spirits so directly. How can we possibly hold ourselves accountable for this incredible opportunity, even if we look back and realize all the missed opportunities? So I want to continue to grow my consciousness of the importance of patience. I want to be patient and forgiving with myself and others when it's obvious patience has been lacking. And I want to be intentional in my intent to practice and exercise patience as much as possible. What would Jesus do? What did Jesus do? Easy to think about it. Much more difficult to be all of this. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Mark. It is so challenging, right? As you were saying, and I kept thinking, why is it so difficult for us to be patient? And I think that you summarized that in such a beautiful way that I will keep reflecting for the whole week. Because at the end of the day, it's all about pride and selfishness, right? We want things on our way. We want things on our time. And I think that there is a huge overlap with tolerance as well, right? Like sometimes people are speaking and then we are already finishing the other person's statement in our head. How many times we've done that? And then sometimes we even stop the person and interrupt him or her to finish. And all of this is just raising a flag to ourselves on things that we have to work with. And I like that you brought about the opportunities that we all have all the time, because this is what we pray for, right? Like when we are praying for God, asking for peace, it starts on us. It starts on us. There's nothing the other is going to change for us to be more patient. This is an individual effort. And that's what I like about thinking on our individual improvement is a collective good. And this is one of the biggest ones. And thank you. So thank you so much. Beautiful, very, as Dave always says, this is food for thought. And then the other, just before I give to someone else to ask questions or make comments, I always would like to bring back that statement that Emmanuel did on love, which is exactly what Jesus is teaching us. And I know that you are all tired of listening to this, but I think it's beautiful for us to be reminded all the time. Love is the silent hope of heaven, awaiting the evolution of all principles while respecting the decisions of all consciences. And this for me summarizes what patience is, because if we are practicing love, and I know that we all have to learn and extend our understanding of love, but as we practice love, we will wait for the evolution of all the principles, and yet we will be able to respect the decisions, not only towards others, but also to ourselves. So I think it's beautiful to be reminded about that. Thank you, dear brother. Thank you so much. God bless you. Does anyone have any comments, any questions?
Well, one of the things that I remember from your talk, Mark, was about, well, more than one. Let's see if I can put it together. Was about, well, patience, and I think one of it was about slander. And slander is very interesting because, to me, slander represents the lack in the person who's slandering, who's doing the most communicating about what they find is wrong or negative or, indifferent from them. And the other thing was, when it comes to Jesus and it comes to God, I mean, God has, in my opinion, has demonstrated patience on a grand scale, of course, dealing with each and every one of us, okay? I mean, it just doesn't get better than that. Our impatience, our ignorance, our intolerance of each other, you name it, it just doesn't get better. And allowing us to come back again to do it over, And then patience is, to me, is like like you were saying about introspecting, what the word is, introspection.
Intersecting spirits. Yes. Introspection.
Introspection. Yeah.
Looking within ourselves. Yes.
Looking within is inner transformation. First of all, we must recognize. We must have our eye on what we're doing, what we're saying, because whatever comes out of here, you're representing you. It doesn't. You're not making nobody else look bad. You make yourself look bad. And even though we don't see it like that, because we all like a good, bit of gossip here and there, or a little bit of slander on somebody, whatever, but it still boils down to our evolution, to our growth. Are we really practicing what we are reading? Are we being the love we want others to see and to have? You got to be the love you want to have in your life. It takes work. It takes work. So it was you threw a lot out there. I had to go get my glasses. Go get my glasses. Shoot. Oh my gosh. But anyway, thank you, Mark.
I'm taking note of what you just said. You got to be the love that you want to receive in your life. That's beautiful. Does anyone have any more comments or questions to Mark?
Yes. Always, this presentation about patience just reminds me that it's just that awareness and science of peace. So the word patience is science of peace. So it's to understand that everything is going to be okay. There's no need to rush. Everything is has its own time. So I really appreciate that. It's a good reminder. Thank you.
Thank you,
'Cause,
Charles.
yeah, like if I'm hungry and I want a cake that is still in the oven, I will burn my tongue, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. So thank you so much, Mark.
We lost
Bless.
your video. We lost your audio.
Can you hear me?
There. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you, Mark. Thank you, everyone. God bless you, brother. We will take 2 minutes break, and then we will return for the healing passes. And in this time, please make sure you grab your bottle of water, and we'll be here in 2 minutes. Brother, once more, thank you so much. God bless you.
You're welcome. Sunshine, I just want to say that I had no idea what I was going to speak about until, even after Teresa called me and said, would I speak? Until we had a session on forgiveness. And then, out jumped this phrase, to be patient with myself.
Beautiful.
It was beautiful connecting of the dots.
Beautiful.